are all weirdos.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Hello, everybody. I guess this is still, thank God it's Friday. Since it is Friday, I guess we are doing something a little different this week, though. We're not going to be reviewing books. We're reviewing a year.
Are we skewing? We cracking up and breaking down?
We're not screwing and cracking up or breaking down.
You have no idea what I say.
We're doing none of that. Well, this isn't the actual regular show. I would not have said that. I know that you screw, review, and crack up. Skew and review and crack up. I never know what name you're going to go with. I just like classic
tomorrow's newspaper headline, Eric Shea.
Tomorrow's girlfriend, Eric Shea. Here we are. These are the 2021 year-end awards. We didn't have a show last year. We weren't planning on doing one this year. And then I thought, what not?
Every time I've talked to you since, you keep coming up with new ideas of how this show is going to go.
Yeah, well, I added some extra things just so people can get some stuff and get a little bit of a deal. Because I know that two of my favorite podcasts back in the day before we had a podcast, the reason I started listening to them was because I listened to an end-of-year awards show. And that would have been, just to throw it out there, it was Raging Bullets and I believe the Newsarama show. And that's the only reason I ended up even tuning in. And then I liked them and listened.
G-Man, didn't you like that one?
That was the Newsarama one.
Oh, was that Newsarama?
That was it. Yep, that was it. So, yeah, those were the ones that I'd always talk to and always listen. I think that the Raging Bullets actually was like a report card. It was like the new 52 report card, but it was kind of like an award show.
Well, back in the day, you really had like the stuff that G-Man did, but they spent more time doing Marvel comics. If you're into DC, it didn't work out as well for you, but mostly you had Raging Bullets and DCR.
Yeah, and so we would listen to those as well, and I kind of got you into the podcast. You didn't quite understand the technology.
I didn't do podcasts. I didn't have a fucking phone.
I know, you didn't have a phone. I kept telling you, though, I like these things.
You want to see my Zoom player?
Yeah. I said, we should make a podcast. You're like, no way, nobody wants to hear that.
That's the thing, is like, we should make a podcast. You want to do like a radio play in my closet? What do you want to do here?
Yeah, that's what we do. We're going to do a radio play, but this is our 2021 awards. We didn't have an award show last year. And there were two reasons. And some of the things might pop up a little with me this year of not having a clear-cut winner in some of these categories. But it's more this year being more of a positive spin of that than last year. We were really down on things. Well, we were down on things last year. And we ended up talking about...
And very, very lazy.
Yeah, well, what would be your book... every award was exactly the same for us, and really...
So what you're telling me is we had a clear-cut winner, and we didn't want to tell nobody about it.
We ended up, every award seemed to be won by the Three Jokers book, is what was going to end up happening.
And people really do hate the Three Jokers book.
Yeah, they do it. They do now, so I'm glad we didn't do it. I'd strike that off the record. I ended up... We were kind of upset, too. I ended up getting in arguments last year about the idea that we weren't going to have an award show because I didn't think that there was that many great things, and we were kind of down. We were kind of depressed. So we decided to just, keep on keeping on. Jimmy. And I remember that, like, one guy, I said, I don't know, I don't like a lot of what DC did this year to have actually a full-out award show. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? They did a lot of things. Daredevil's awesome right now. Yep. I'm like, I'm done talking with you. I'm not talking with you anymore. There was a guy, and then another guy was mentioning things, and I swear, I remember saying, that book ended 2 years ago. Like, that's not a book now. And he's like, well, I just got around to it. I said, okay, start live tweeting Golden Girls. Sure. I ended up just getting
It's not a rerun if it's new to you.
Well, that is true. It's must-see TV Friday night, TGIF.
Must-see TV was Thursday nights, Jim.
Here, I know, it was. And a lot of times Thursday night, even when it wasn't declared to be must-see TV, it was actually must-see TV. Thursday night used to be a really big night for TV. But we are here. We have different categories. We have Best New Character, Biggest Moment, Artist of the Year, Writer, and Book, and then a couple of other things that we're looking forward to the most in the coming year, 2022, and maybe a little New Year's resolutions, not for us, but for DC Comics, but we won't.
It's kind of a dick move putting resolutions on somebody else to achieve.
Well, they need to have somebody do it because they don't seem... Now,
your New Year's resolution is to lose 100 pounds this year.
That would be good. If you actually inspired me to say and do that, I'd thank you in 2022. Future Jimmy thanks you. But Eric, why would I want to weigh 10 pounds? I don't understand this. But yeah, we're going to end up starting with Best New Character. and I'm going to give it to you. One, Eric Shea. What is your best new character of 2021?
Initially, the other day when you first brought this up, the idea of the best new character, I'm like, we have a long list of new characters for the year of 2021. And I thought to myself, something I've been talking about all year of a character that I really thought was great coming out of Future State, and that's Yara Flor, the new Wonder Girl. I was looking so forward to her with everything that was coming out, the Future State into her own book and how it's going to tie into the whole trial of the Amazons and open up the whole Amazon mythology as a whole. It's just the problem is now that the Wonder Girl book is coming out and being delayed nonstop, and we have changing artists, and Joelle Jones needs to force herself to be on time to get to that trial of the Amazons. Everything about the character that I wanted to love about has now been forced or then pushed to the side. So I can't go with what I wanted to do all year, but I will go with the backup who has now elevated herself as somebody who I want to see in DC for a long time. It is Robin's Flatline character. This character was the sidekick of Lord Deathman, somebody I never thought would be great, especially because right away she went against what I thought in my headcanon was going to be her power and showed me something different. But you know what? That something different was okay. Flatline is my new character of the year, and I actually can't wait to see her continue on in the Robin series with maybe Respawn, but definitely Ravager and Connor Hawke.
Oh, Respawn. Well, mine comes from the book. Same book, Eric. Double X. No, it's not Double XL. Now, with this, here's the thing. It'd be funny, too, when you're talking about this. If we had the category of, I get to say what I think your 2021 was. What was your trend? What was the thing? You were of the mind. You were Eric Shea of the mind. So much.
The child over here.
So much last year. The idea that everything. You still were doing it last week. I mean, every bit is.
Was it last year on the freaking spotlight?
Yeah, I think it was. Everything that you think is happening is going to be, well, we're not seeing that.
Well, we knew in Robin that Damian Wayne had an Alfred Pennyworth of the mind, and I was continuing the trend with everything else that we were saying.
I mean, here's the thing. You're saying these things, Eric.
I have headcanon about Damian's headcanon.
Because seriously, I almost ended up putting, we don't get enough of them, but I thought my best new character was Ghost Alfred at one point. And then I thought, that's kind of being silly. Right?
Yeah,
but it is fun. I also ended up at one point trying to see if I could convince you that Deadman and Wonder Woman was indeed a new character, because it's nothing like the other one.
This might as well be how Marv Wolfman says that Nightwing is his character, even though Dick Grayson had been around for 40 years before that whole thing. You know, this is Michael W. Conrad's Deadman. It's not a Deadman you've ever seen before.
No, it's not a Deadman, so it has him, but I don't like him necessarily. So that I also had some other things here. Master Wise. I mean, everybody loved him, right? He was sitting.
He's got that brain machine.
Dr. Dinosaur, Eric. I just wanted to put that because that's what
Scorpio.
You like to call him that. But the other one was Chow, the bus driver / part-time lover / lost and found enthusiast. I didn't pick him either. I'm going to go
the man who really has Yara Flor's heart, even though Eros might as well.
Yes. I'm going Yara Flor. And the thing is, you mentioned in your deal why I still want to go with her. Because of the idea, we really have, it's like Naomi. You end up where there still is so much. There still is, well, that's from years before, but you still end up, I got enough to get inspired. You liked her more. Your inspiration actually got me excited about her. And I still think that she is almost a clean slate. Yes, it's because of the idea that they haven't done much, pushed her to the side or whatever. I'm just hoping that as just best new character, I'm not saying that she ended up getting the most development or whatnot, but I still think that she is one of the, or if the best new character that somebody needs to grab onto. You got to get Joelle Jones to maybe step aside and have somebody that can do that, or get a book where you can actually develop her. And not now, like you said, now it's problems because now Joelle Jones has to kind of speed things up, cut some corners to get to the trial of the Amazons.
A 90-minute made for DVD blockbuster rental action movie because we have so many montages to speed our way past to what we need to get to.
I thought you were going to say it's kick-ass. You end up, and
the movie or just the exclamation?
No, just the idea of an action movie deal. Then
I was more of a made for DVD horror flick kind of guy.
Well, there you go. But you have this deal where the character is so good, and when you still think of her, I think more of the stuff where you got in the whole Future State, which I didn't love the stories in that. I said they were a little wonky. I warned everybody. But
what are you talking about? That moon god was going to ride the headless donkey.
Remember the first issue? The first issue I had a little bit of problem. That second issue really ended up again kind of being forced and didn't really mean much. But the character herself is great because that
She
character
can do
also has,
anything.
and it has the promise of another pantheon, a new tribe. Again, things are getting pushed and wedged in and whatnot. So I hope that what happens with the trial of the Amazons after that, you get to elevate the character, not end up, kind of making her less. And that does
Well, it's
worry
a weird
me. But
thing where I have this weird kind of negativity towards somebody who I wanted to love all year just because we have a whole new series dedicated to Wonder Girl. We have two other Wonder Girls that I do want to see, and we are seeing them because of the whole explosion of the Amazonian culture leading to the trail of the Amazons. We see Donna Troy doing stuff. We see Artemis doing stuff. We see Cassie Sandsmark doing stuff. But they've really been pushed to the side that we can't do anything with them because Yara Flor has become front and center, and we're still not doing anything with this character.
Yeah, and it's funny, when we get to the writer of the year, we're going to have, I get the idea, like the idea that you wanted to love and did love Yara so much. And then by the end
Still,
here,
it's badass.
and by the end here of the year, I'm telling you, I want to say it as I always used to. I haven't said it in a while. It's like the arranged marriage deal, Eric. You didn't expect anything from Flatline. That ends up elevating, and so you get excited. Yara, we expected a lot from.
Jim.
Yeah, but Yara, we expected so much, and now it's on the downswing, and it makes you feel more negative about the character. This is kind of where I'll bring it up when we do the
and
writer.
Cassie Sandsmark is written like a tart in that series as well.
Yeah, that is true. I'm telling you, it's not my book of the year.
Did you see that,
Girl.
Artemis? She thinks I'm cool. I think she's cool. You think we can hang out some more? Go.
That book is infuriating at points, especially when what you get is, this is what you delayed for? I mean, really?
Justice. Do
something
over there, please.
Something. But yeah, Yara Flor, I'm still going to go, but with the caveat that something has to happen soon. I can't go, like, next year. Can I use her again if nothing happens? Hey, we didn't get much. But
do whatever you want.
I really want more of her, but it's the potential of what's around her as well. Like I said, the Pantheon, the tribes, all that. Hopefully that'll be elevated in Trial of the Amazons to be able to get. I hope so. It's like one of those things with Yara, it's weird. Most of the times, like in Naomi, we need a defined power set. Oh, what's her power set? What's her power set? With Yara, we just need everything. We need her. Like, what's
just like the idea
background
you had a Naomi series going to TV and a possible Yara Flor series looking. I think to myself, with what you had with both the characters going forward, where Naomi gets a pass and then Yara gets pushed down on the idea, well, there's not enough with this character, and there's enough with Naomi.
Yeah, I know. And really, there was news about Naomi, just as an aside, that they ended up saying where somebody said, hey, it's Ava DuVernay, I think is how you pronounce her last name.
I have no idea.
They ended up, it's the lady who did the Wrinkle in Time movie that she's involved. The one who was going to do the New Gods movie with Tom King. She is like executive producer, writer, and then things like that. And they asked her, so how close are you going to follow the comic book? And I'm sitting there thinking, you mean the 6 issues where you didn't really do much? Like, what? And she said, well, we're going to follow it closely for kind of nearly 2 episodes.
D has wings. It's all you're following.
That sounds right. I'm like, that sounds right. And then she said, we're going on our own direction. And
you have
to. I mean, you have to. So, yeah, Yara Flor, I think, didn't become a series. I think it would have cost too much. I think it was all the idea of locations.
I was going to say the whole thing when you got done. The idea, if you put Yara Flor a TV series, especially for something at the CW, you don't have enough money. They didn't have enough money for Swamp Thing, let alone a Pantheon in the Amazon jungle.
Swamp Thing is what I think of when you get that.
God,
now
such a cool show.
Just imagine that if they have to go back on the budget, so they're just like making like their own like weird set of the Amazon.
It's so funny too, because all the news now is the CW is going to try to get sold or bought out or whatever it is, or just stopping in general. I'm like, I don't know what's happening to any of these things going forward.
Yeah, but I'm still going with Yara Flor. I think that she was the breakout character.
She wasn't cool enough to get a TV show, Jim.
I know, but
my Flatline 2022.
Yeah, really. If we would have had the awards somehow happen in May, I mean, holy moly, we would have been rolling on. But yeah, unfortunately, a little downswing at the end here, or maybe for about 6 months, not just at the end. And it is Joel Jones and those delays. Again, she created the character, but maybe it would be better suited to somebody to grab it. And really, I think that they should grab her for some of those side young adult novels and those graphic novels that they do would be really, really good. Same with Naomi. But
I got a bunch of those I've never read.
Yeah, I know. But, I don't think you're the target audience quite. No. But it would end up maybe getting other people inspired, because that's a character that you could end up showing other people that aren't into comics and actually get people inspired.
And don't take their comics too seriously.
Yeah, really. That's that'd be my other thing, is the end of year report on Eric Shea. Takes things too seriously. Everything is of the mind. The person who really besides Cyndi Lauper, really just wants to have fun. But you can't have it with comics because you're too.
What's that song? Goonies are
You're too. Yeah, Goonies.
The
No, it was She Bop there.
Oh.
We're gonna go to the next one, which is biggest moment of the year. What is your biggest moment of 2021?
The biggest moment in my mind is hands down the first arc of The Flash by Jeremy Adams that put Wally West back in the role of the Scarlet Speeder and sent Wally through time, quantum wave style, to make sure that we could see that Wally was indeed not a murderer, even with the whole being corrupted by reverse Flash whispers that were given previously. Now we have an energy pulse that killed all the other heroes, was actually done to flush out the corruption of the Speed Force, who was actually Savitar trying to flee his Speed Force prison. So with this move, we exonerate Wally and everything is finally right in the world after Heroes in Crisis, because I'm telling you, we spent so much time trying to fucking undick Tom King's Heroes in Crisis that Jeremy Adams finally got it right with his Quantum Wave style story when he first got in the book. Great way to start your book out, because we had Flash Forward, which we had to do this whole big... fuck that. We go before Flash Forward, just Wally, all crazy about his kids seeing in hyper time. Oh my god, my kids, they're stuck in this hyper time. Wally, you don't have kids because you're of this New 52 timeline. You were just lost. Then to come to find out he's not from this New 52 timeline because it kept going back and forth with different people writing the stories. And then we found out, even though we had the dark multiverse introduced during Dark Knight's Metal, and the idea that Bruce Wayne opened up the dark multiverse because, Wayne is the fucking wagon or window, whatever the hell it used to was. We now find out that right before the Flashpoint happened and the New 52 happened, right before Wally got sucked into the Speed Force by Abracadabra as a penance, turns out the dark multiverse came and stole his kids. We had to go through all this thing where, Wally's in prison, gets freaking, recruited by the Tempest Fuginaut to go save the universe from the dark multiverse infection. We go and we do that, and then we find out after all this is said and done, we had Savitar dicking things up in the Speed Force. We flushed it out, and now the murder of all of these heroes, it's sad, it's terrible, but now we can just say it wasn't Wally West, even with reverse Flash whispers in his ear, but it was also Barry, Oliver, and Mr.
Yeah, how many
Terrific
times are
Michael.
they going to try? They had to do it a couple times to try to get it.
It is finally done, though. I think everybody can be happy with how things worked out, even though there's still a lot of dickery lingering in the fucking wind about it. But I think it's finally all done. So that, and Wally being the Flash finally in the Flash book once again after a decade, that is the biggest moment of 2021.
Yeah, they ended up, I saw a lot of people were upset. People were complaining, oh, you can't go back and change Tom King's story. I'm like, really? Somebody should have done it before. And like comics. You said, that the crazy idea of this is a lot of people who are Tom King fans or just reading that Heroes in Crisis didn't quite get that the setup made no sense. The idea that Wally ended up, like you said, and this was all set up in Rebirth where he did make it to the New 52. You know what? He lost his kids because the New 52, a new reboot of the universe. How many other characters didn't have their kids or loved ones because
Jefferson
of that?
Pierce.
Tons, right? Roy
Harper.
The big one,
R.I.P.
at that point.
Maybe that might have been for the best because Leanne died terribly, but still didn't have it.
But still, a lot of the people don't realize that what Wally was desperately wanting was something that he had already gotten over somewhat in the whole Flash War. He ended up seeing that he had kids, but they were hyper time of another Wally, another Earth. The idea that people are like, thank God he could be with Linda now in the Sanctuary. Linda actually was alive and out and about in that universe.
And didn't know Wally.
She didn't remember him.
Wally forced a relationship with her to try to get things back to where he thought things would be because he had memory of what happened before, even though it was the Wally of the New 52. Because it kept telling you, like you said, it kept getting rewritten with different writers.
It got changed so many times.
Jeff Johnson said, it's the best version of Wally.
I mean,
Don't worry about it.
At one point, Wally was
Linda
touching people, and they ended up seeing
Magenta's
their
old
past.
girlfriend.
Yeah, Magenta. She ended up seeing her past.
But she
Magenta
wasn't
Reborn.
evil before Wally touched her, and she was pissed about the idea that Wally had brought all this memories on her out of nowhere.
And we thought that that's what this Heroes in Crisis might have been about, the idea of people remembering their past memories that weren't really theirs, but they started swirling around because there were problems.
You have to go back to that really solidifies that Wally West that we had before Death Metal did everything it had to do, and we did all this fuckery with Wally West, is that the reason that I know that is the New 52 Wally West and not the pre-Flashpoint Wally West, even though he might have memories of that because of his time in the Speed Force, was that he was a part of the Teen Titans when the Teen Titans had their memory wiped by Omen after the Mr. Twister incident in Titans Hunt.
Yeah, Titans Hunt. That was a DCYOU deal. So you end up having all that stuff. Again, I get mad every time because people are like, it's a great thing. First off, too, the idea that you think that Tom King, and I'm going with the idea that it was a great moment because it wiped out that awful story. The idea that it's the Speed Force lightning that killed it. I saw a spear go through Lagoon Boy. I mean, that was no lightning, right?
Bit of wood or something.
What was going on with that Green Lantern? That story was made on a whim and written and overdone.
That because even though Wally's the fastest man alive, I ain't never seen his ass run so fast to go inside of a computer and undelete files.
Yeah. Remember, though, we don't forget, too, that Lois ended up legitimately getting files that were done in confidence of a mental health institute and doxed everyone with not one hero came to her afterwards and said, what the hell were you doing, you jerk? Firestorm's probably real embarrassed that he said that his hair was on fire. Eric, he doesn't like that.
Tom King really knows Firestorm.
My biggest moment is a funny deal because it is kind of a weird thing that you don't think of as 2021 because it ended up coming out right as 2021 began and finished up a story of 2020. Yes, you know what it is because we checked. It is where Diana in Death Metal decided to fight. Yeah, number 7 decided to fight and defeat the Darkest Night and sacrifice her life so that the Cosmic Hands would possibly be inspired and do something they've never done before. With the whole idea of that, she ends up fighting what was then the Darkest Night, right? And he ended up saying, and it was the Batman who laughs, but said to Diana, listen, side with me. These Cosmic Hands, these judges, they will not side with you. They will destroy your multiverse. They always do. They always reboot. They always do that. They're not going to be nice about it. And Diana almost did, but then decided, no, I have to do what's right. If you remember the wonkiness, she went down into the forge, the World Forge, and then binded up with her lasso that she became the living truth.
The molten thing that creates the worlds itself. You have to put the truth in there to know the truth of the truth.
And she got the truth of the truth. But the big moment was she decided that she had to defeat what was then the Darkest Night. Pretty much, the be-all, end-all. This guy had, Manhattan powers and everything. Has anybody but us
ever gone to name the Darkest Night? Do you think everybody else just stuck with the Batman and laughs?
I think they did, but actually when I was looking up some things, some articles were mentioning the Darkest Night. Because
I even think about things where you change things up, like even in the Teen Titans Academy recently, where Beast Boy is now the Changeling again. Like, do we go with that? Or the whole thing?
I still go. It's funny because you say that me and Stork are doing Teen Titans, the Jeff Johns Teen Titans, where he legitimately is Changeling. I still can't not say Beast Boy, but you end up where with that Diana sacrifices.
Changing in that.
Now, Diana ends up going and saying, I got to defeat the Darkest Night. Defeats him, and then what ends up happening is the Cosmic Hands are inspired to do something they've never done before. They end up saying, we're going to create a new multiverse of infinite possibilities, Eric. And the best thing, everything matters. That's exactly where that term came from. They said everything will now matter, but there is one bit of a cost. That was Diana's life. So she ends up, accepting
something bad's going to happen because of this.
Yeah. So we have all that. Now with that, again, almost like a Yara Floor, what have we done with it? I can't say that everything when I was going back and rereading what they were saying and reading articles and things, and there was some pretty bit of excitement going on of what that meant. We're still waiting. We're still waiting to see what happens.
Infinite multiverse kind of thing. Now it's like multiverse, but pretty much it's just everything plus an Elseworld, which we're not going to deal with, and an Earth Omega.
Yeah. And so you had that, and now in this current state, which you'll hear more of this.
The Quintessence are dead.
Yeah, well, that was my other one that I was going to put. I was going to put Darkseid killing the Quintessence, but that's the problem. What did we get from this?
Yell at Michael W. Conrad about that.
This infinite multiverse, we haven't really dealt with it. At points, we thought we were with that Crime Syndicate book, but then we were told that really didn't connect with that. Then we have so we're still waiting for all of these things to hit. And I think it's getting a little muddy. They have to tighten up the ship here, and it's a little sloppy Joe right now. They got to go. But I still think that that's a huge moment. Wonder Woman pretty much sacrificed herself
it's a little
for the
sloppy
entire
Joe.
universe.
They got to go.
Yeah, they got to do something more with these things. But we'll move on to Artist of the Year in a quick moving show. Eric, what do you think is the Artist of the Year?
The greatest artist in my mind from everything that we've done at DC Comics in the year of 2021 has to go to somebody that I did not expect to be on my list because I usually have my usual suspects. But my usual suspects like, Gary Frank or Jason Fabok. Men along those lines didn't really do much in 2021 for at least DC Comics. I really don't know what they did, if anything. But it went to something that came towards the end of the year that actually surprised me, and that's why it stuck with me and had to be on the list. It's Mikhail Janine on his Superman and the Authority. And it's such a weird thing because when we were getting the initial, promo art for when that story was going to come out, because, I think it sat for a little while because 5G was just on we're doing this, we're not doing this, it's becoming this over here. But when we first got those initial things with the Silver Fox Superman and the short sleeve super shirt, all it made me think of was, well, I don't want an old man Superman, but I also don't like the short sleeve because it always makes me go with the Dark Knight Strikes Again with the black suited Flash with the short sleeve shirts, and that style has always bothered me, and I hate that style in the Flash. And whenever I see short sleeves, even with the Dark Detective and Future State we had with Batman like that, that's all I can think about is something terrible. But then we actually read the book, and I saw how everything was playing, and even the colorist and the whole thing, and the idea of playing with the blues and the reds and how things were going for different times. Everybody in that, and even the redesign of Enchantress to make her a hero once again, to get her to become more of the switcheroo, witcheroo that she originally was. I love everything about that book and the way it looks. I think that the Superman and the Authority Superman is one of the best looking Superman we've had in a long time. And right now I'm just waiting for McFarlane Toys to make a figure of that so I can have it right here in front of me.
Yeah, you want that. Michael Janine was, I think, a couple of years ago, my artist of the year. So I've already had him
Is it on
as
Batman's?
artist. No, it was on Grayson, I believe, is what it was.
That
It may
makes
have
sense.
even carried over into Batman 2. It might have been. I end up where I look back, and as a shocker, 2 years in a row, my writer of the year was Tom King. That's insane for what ended up happening. Yeah, I went back and checked, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Because it went from Grayson into... I ended up liking the first 12 issues
writer,
of Batman.
Tom King. Best book, Hawkman. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you are.
Really, that was just for you. Art, though, will surprise you because it's something where
Oh, I'm sorry. 2 seconds. Actually, I want to have it just thrown in because I have it written down. I need to shout it out because I wrote it down. Clayman is an honorable mention just because I actually, I hate the Batman Catwoman book, but I loved what he puts into the Batman Catwoman book because while people just say his art is cheesecake, I want to eat that cake up.
Oh, you can eat that cake up there, fatty.
Num.
We end up where I have a kind of 2 picks, maybe an honorable mention, but the one pick is one where, again, it's weird. You said that at the very end. It's a book that I haven't really been enjoying. But the art, I think, is spectacular. And it's sometimes when we're talking about it, we'll mention, this art's great, right? No, and we end up saying that. But it ends up where, and again, it's Detective Comics is the book, just to give you the hint. It's Dan Mora. It's Dan Mora.
Great art.
By the time that we're done reviewing, and I'm talking just people who listen to us on the podcast, a lot of times we're so frustrated with that book at bits that by the end we then say...
Just brush it. Oh, yeah, it looks good.
You know what I mean? And at the end we go, oh, and it looks great. Because me and you both, probably the hardest category for me to do, and I think it might be because we're more story and stuff like that. No, inkers to me is because I have problem. Especially nowadays, I don't even know exactly how much they do, and a lot of places
do the Future State Dark Detective as well that led into its Detective Comics, or was that somebody else? Because combine Dan Morrow with whoever the color was, making that the Blade Runner Gotham Future. I love the way that book looked.
Yeah, and it even carried over then into the regular detectives after that, and I thought that the art was insane. I thought it was really good. Every issue that he was on, I thought was great. And it was one of those things that I've never read before then, Once in Future, which you haven't. And so I wasn't aware of his art so much. I'd heard the name maybe, but really wasn't. I was really impressed. The other one was, as a side, again, a Batman book. It's Jorge Jimenez, who we always like anyway.
Barbara Gordon's always shoving some food in her face. In that book.
That's hilarious, right? But no, it ends up again, though, at points we were frustrated with that book. But yet, if you think about it, the character designs, all those new characters that kind of hit a lot of them were him as well.
Too, but also, you're going to tell me how the designer or fucking Miracle Molly had the best designs
they
you've
were
ever
hilarious,
seen?
Eric. That's what they were.
Walking out of a goddamn circus.
Miracle Molly, I'm not really hip on. It's more of I said.
Hunter looks like it's Marvin the Martian with a baseball bat.
And you ended up, Miracle Molly was Viv Vision on a bender. But you end up the designer. You have to be great. You have to be great to come up with some sort of thing like the designer. I mean, it's so bad that you have to be great to come up with that. But that book looked great. And remember, a lot of times you'd have those spread pages that looked
$15 and went hog wild at a Goodwill.
Exactly, he did. But Dan Mora, I think, is one of those where, again, while we talk about the book all the time, it ends up where I kind of didn't realize. Well, and he's off it, and that's what's a shame. I didn't realize until that last issue. I'm like, oh, man, that's one of the reasons why I could stand going through this sometimes, because of that. But we're going to move to the next category, and it is Writer of the Year. And who is your pick?
My Writer of the Year is actually something that I did not expect going into this whole, category show thing that we're doing, award ceremony bits, because while it is something that I always put up on a pedestal to a degree, it's not something I really think about as one of my favorite writers at DC Comics, but it should come as no surprise to a lot of people who I think will agree with this. Tom Taylor in the year of 2021 has put out a lot of good books. Maybe not, everything's for everyone, like we talk about sometimes, but with Nightwing, Superman, Son of Kal-El, Batman Detective, and Dark Knights of Steel coming out in 2021. I liked a Batman Detective more than you. It's not a perfect book by any means, but it was a decent book in general. But Superman Son of Kal-El is doing something interesting where I can actually put aside for the first time the idea of de-aging John because of what we're finally doing with the character as an adult. He had his run with the Legion of Superheroes. I don't give a shit about that because Bendis was dicking that whole thing up. But doing him as Superman and going forward and actually setting him up, seeing him showing up with Lex Luthor for annuals, stuff like that, and knowing that he's going to do his own thing going forward, even if what you didn't care for what it was in Future State, knowing that he's going to have a long career, at least to a degree, of being Superman, where he's going to have his own foes and even maybe team up with Supergirl. It's a lot of cool stuff going forward, and I like what we were doing currently with Son of Kal-El, and even the idea of Nightwing, getting him back to Bloodhead, getting back to basics that you should be doing with Nightwing. It's a great move forward for the character, even if a lot of it is fan service, but the book, it's just a lot of fun to read for the most part overall. So everything he's doing right now, which including Dark Knights of Steel, which is another Elseworld like we did with Deceased before, it's just books you want to read because you're going to have a good time with them for the most part.
And they got him exclusive, so that's a cool deal. Tom Taylor, another guy who's been a couple times winner of my Writer of the Year, which ends up being the thing that I said earlier about the arranged marriages and traditional marriage. The idea that going into this year, and any year, Tom Taylor's one of my favorite writers. I told you, and for a fact, I was not into Deceased as much as some others. I thought that it was a very surface-level deal. It didn't have much of a story to do, and we liked that because it started doing a little more character work. I like his character work, stuff like that, but
that it made me want to see Red Hood and Ravager get together.
Yeah, and so with all this stuff, I actually gave Joshua Williamson my book of the year, or Writer of the Year, book of the year. Hey, Josh, you're a book. I ended up giving, because that's the thing. He also was probably my biggest surprise of the year because me and you, to the point, I can almost say, not quite, but we hated The Flash. We didn't like it.
The Flash is garbage.
Right? We hated his
People love
his
put
Flash.
that on a pedestal, but none of it ever panned out in the long run. I'm laying in bed and thinking to myself, what the fuck is the Forever Force? What happened to the Black Flash?
I'm telling you, and people will go and
the Strength Force.
As you get away from it, more and more people say that they loved it. We didn't. Everybody can like what they want, whatnot, but we did not like it, and it was driving us nuts. And he was a guy.
Paradox, Jim.
Still has. Yeah, I know. I was listening to that parody song the other day. I'm laughing. You end up where you still have a problem. He still has not as much as the Flash, but he'll be able to start a story really good, and then it kind of changes, peters out, whatnot. But with what he was going on, and when it was kind of announced that he was the curator of this Infinite Frontier, of all the things going, we were scared. And we said, this is not going to be good.
For some reason, you saying he was the curator, all it became was still in my mind. DC Comics is a symptom and I'm the cure.
That's right. He's there. He's Cobra. But with that, you have a bunch of books. And again, these are a bunch of books like a Tom Taylor. And I will mention another writer in a minute. But you end up, he has Infinite Frontier, which I really, really liked until the last issue. Yep. But 5 of 6, all right. You end up with Future State Gotham.
Saying that, right?
Future State Gotham, Eric. We're not really digging that. But what I do really like, I really, really like Robin.
That's
and
good.
I am starting to like Deathstroke Inc. more and more as
That's
it
solid.
goes on. And the one issue that we can count as of the year, the Batman looks like it's going in a pretty good direction. So I'm more of the idea.
I haven't read the
too.
next issue yet, but I look forward to what he's doing. That my biggest problem with Joshua Williamson going forward as the curator of the DCU right now is, from what I'm seeing for his event-style books, the thing that are going to lead us to what DC Comics will become in 2022 and down the line is that he just puts on his best Grant Morrison impersonation, and I'm just going back to what Scott Snyder was doing, the same thing. Like, let's get away from that, because while, people might love Grant Morrison, I'm going to say, I'm talking how great Superman and Authority is, the idea, his imagination, his grand ideas, they were all woo-woo to the point where we had wishing machines and nonsense and bullshit. I still don't need things. I want to say that everything's of the mind, if you start being like Grant Morrison, like everything will be of the mind, but in a stupid way.
Yeah, and so again, I'm looking forward more and more to his Batman going forward. But the Robin book is a big one because I'm
the Batman.
shocked.
First thing he does, hey guys, remember Batman Inc. what Grant Morrison did?
Yeah, so he does, and he is a guy who's gone on interviews and said that's his
Even
favorite
Weeper,
thing of all
Deathstroke
time.
Inc.
Yeah, he said that's his favorite thing of all time. And you're going towards another crisis. He seems to be in control of it, and I think he is going to tap more into that Grant Morrison type deal.
It didn't work for Snyder. Hopefully it works for Williamson better.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but if you look back, every issue of Death Metal sold...
No. I'm thinking this. If it works for him, and like, money-wise, I'm talking about creative-wise, where the story was bullshit overall.
Yeah, we thought so.
And everything was around the Batman who laughed.
It seemed to be just me and you and the Get Fresh crew, but people seemed to love it. I
Everything
looked back
was
at
an
reviews
amalgam
and people
Batman.
loved it. Yeah,
And then it just kept getting stupider with each
But
iteration.
the Robin deal is one of the big ones. He really actually surprised me. I didn't think that book was going to be anything.
Even when Scott Snyder was doing the Legion of Doom and he wanted to do this whole thing where everything hinged on the apex predator of Perpetua, where it's a combination of a human and a Martian manhunt, or not a man, but a Martian. And then we said, well, Kendra and Martian Manhunter's son Shane, he like, oh no, she's Thanagarian. No, she's not, Scott.
What is this, a Scott Snyder bashing?
He's gone now. It's
2021. But I do want to mention.
I'm so angry at that still.
I do want to mention the idea, though. Most important writer is James Tynion. Me and you just don't like, and I could have easily have given it to him as well.
Man
it's
sells
just
books.
that I really didn't like his Batman, so that's a big minus. I didn't like that at all.
So to get the giant mural of his Batman family of 2021.
I do like the Joker.
With Miracle Molly, Ghostmaker, Harley Quinn, and Clown Hunter.
Nonsense. I like the Joker enough, but again, that
It's a
story
wordy
is
book
barely
that
even
meanders.
started. And even with as many issues and stuff like that, but all of his books sold, including, his... what is it? First house on the
His horror book.
That new house on the lake, whatever the hell that is. But we don't deal with those. But yeah, he's the most important. I was going to say too, back at the art part, I actually would give you that if you went with the idea of somebody who did a great job and really shocked us and was perfect for the book, I almost ended up saying Mike Perkins on Swamp Thing.
Thank God. I thought you were going to go with Riley Rossmo and Harley Quinn.
Of how much we were impressed. The idea that we didn't really like Mike Perkins or his style, but
I don't care for
so
Mike Perkins
well.
and Lois Lane, but I like him on Swamp Thing.
Yeah, it looks
it's like
really
Kelly Jones doing stuff. I like Kelly Jones doing monster freaking books and Swamp Thing books, but when you have doing a regular book, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. When he does the Batman, those
Batman's
ears
got
are
9 foot tall ears.
700 feet tall.
It's like
but
the
yes.
90s all over again.
Yeah, so with that also, I have to say, I knew that you were giving it to Tom Taylor, and while I could go, it's just the stuff that he has, I like for the most part. It's just that the detective didn't hit with me. I'm still waiting for Superman Son of Kal-El to grab
Jim,
me,
you got
too.
those 2 issues of Dark Knights of Steel that you really loved in
Yeah, now
2021.
with that, I wish that I would have said it at the beginning. I see a lot of these lists that are already putting DC versus Vampires on their best of, and
cheaters.
the Dark Knights of Steel, where you have 3 and 2 issues,
That's fine. We'll do it again next year.
of 12. Yeah, they will. And I hope, and that's the other thing when we get to the end. The whole thing of this is that I'm so excited because I would like to put those books already as the book of the year. It just doesn't make sense. So 2022.
Honorable mention, Dark Knights of Steel and DC versus Vampires are,
and I'll even
secret,
throw in Task
double
Force C.
probation, book of the year.
And so we do a book of the year. And before we go into this, I do want to say that when we go through the book of the year, usually you have a bunch of picks and stuff and you try to narrow it down. Last year we said we didn't really have a lot that we were loving. This year I do, but my point of this all is that every book has something that ends up pissing me off and not being able to do it. I would love to
But
put
the one
Flash.
book that gets through there, Man Bat for Jim Warner.
Yes, I would. Yeah, checkmate. I would love to put Flash
Did
on
I just win or did you? What are we talking here?
I don't know. I think that Flash is like one of the best books of the year.
It's got my best moment, that's for sure.
You end up having some things that drove us nuts that it's like, I can't give it. You end up having a Suicide Squad, which I think everybody should read. I think it's one of the better books that are out there. But when you kind of go to the nitty gritty, not much of a story to grab onto. It's all the character work, but we love it.
I don't know if you know this yet, Jim, but this issue of Suicide Squad, they go to Earth 8.
Yeah, I saw you losing your mind in your review. I read your review.
So bad.
I ended up seeing your score. Everybody else's. Then I went and I saw your header, and I'm like, oh, here we go. And I know you don't like Earth 8. So no, with that, though, like a
Can't get
couple,
away from it.
even some other books, as we're going through this year and as I'm thinking back at stuff, there are a lot of good books. I'm actually very excited because DC is starting to get good in certain areas.
Oh, I look forward to that Shazam coming out.
Yeah. What, you mean last year?
No, this new one.
Oh,
the Mary Marvel book.
And that got delayed.
6 months. I think it's September.
6 or 7, and then they asked them, and they said that it might be indefinite. But we'll see how it goes.
Well, indefinite's any time.
Well, I think that no, I think they're saying indefinite as it's on hiatus. But I think that the problem with that book, and I think that why that got that delayed was because of the idea. Things with Billy will probably change before then, and the book wouldn't have made sense as it was coming out. Is what I have been told or kind of gleaned from the things. But we'll see. I was looking forward to that too. But best book of the year, of actual books of this year, what would be your book of the year?
My book of the year goes with my artist of the year, Mikhail Janine, where it's a book that came out and shocked me because it's a Grant Morrison book. I'm going to talk all this shit on Grant Morrison throughout this now. And now my book of the year is a Grant Morrison book, and that is Superman and the Authority, because even though it's a 5G holdover, I think Grant Morrison did enough with that book to try to make it work. You could put it on Philip Kennedy Johnson's shoulder, said he did enough with Grant Morrison's book to make it something that works, within our current continuity. But just the fun and style of that book as a whole, like I was talking about the idea of the colors and the art and the story with all the background stuff, where you and I could sit down and we could talk for a half an hour about theories about this being a time travel book. It might be this, it might be that. But putting together an older, depowered Superman who needs help in going to Manchester Black, a very unlikely ally, and then putting up Apollo and Midnighter, Steel, a new Light Ray or Tangent Flash Light Ray, a new OMAC, and even, who's the last? Oh, Enchantress. I'm like, all of these characters, it's an amazing team that you never thought you'd get to see, and this all calling it the Authority because Manchester Black there. It's just such a fun ride to put this together. While it didn't always go with where I wanted to, because like I said during the Action Comics recently, still don't know much about OMAC or how Light Ray ties into the Tangent universe, stuff like that, and how she's over here and whatnot like that. Didn't get as much as I wanted to, but the stuff we did get was compelling. It was amazing to look at, and it made me look forward to what was going to go forward with Philip Kennedy Johnson's War World saga.
Yeah, and it's funny, you end up mentioning, the whole Action Comics thing and stuff like that. That was another one of those books that I was kind of talking about of like, well, I really like it now, but how many issues did I
3
like?
issues.
And, how many of that stuff going? So I ended up like, yeah, I don't think I can give it to that. That hopefully would be something in the running for next year.
It's a weird situation of having a book of the year this year, just because the first 2 months were immediately taken away from us for the most part. If you like, maybe you could be all about Future State. You and I were not. So essentially, you're taking the first 2 months off the table for books going on with the continuity that you and I care about, and then picking up and trying to figure out where they're going to get to that future state. And most of them, if they're trying to get to that future, they end up sucking because they're shoehorned into this thing that's really making them like, oh, this takes place 35 years in the future. We're going to do it in 6 issues.
Yeah, it is a weird deal. And like you said, there's other things involved too. And that kind of goes to my book of the year, which I've struggled. I have 2 books that I want to give it to, and I've gone on the podcast and yelled about one of them a lot. But then when I went and looked at my scores and thought about it, I think I do have to give it.
Phony.
I think I have to give it to Nightwing, even though I want it more. And that's the big thing. I want it more. The other one was Robin. And I love the Robin book, and it never has really disappointed me.
It's a solid 7.5 in my mind.
And that's the thing. I think that if I ended up, because the first review, and you'll laugh too, and you'll call me a hack, but I gave a 10 out of 10 to that first Nightwing because I was so excited. I thought it was really good. The problem is, it never. Now, some people went with, oh yeah, it kept being that, so I was always a 10.
You got thunderstruck because there's no more Ricky Grayson.
There was no, Dickie Boy or anything like that. But it looked like, okay, the love of the cat. Like there's a writer who loves the character. You're going to get it. But it never was getting past that. I needed more. I needed more substance. So I got upset.
Jim, here's a 3-legged dog that people are going to hassle and then shoot in front of Nightwing's face. Bad dudes in Bloodhaven.
A lot of people complain about Tom Taylor that says that he doesn't want any of the characters to do anything bad. I even said that's like a Mariko Tamaki thing in our spotlight this week.
Well, even this whole thing with the formula that we talk about, and most times the formula can work because he knows what fans like and can get away with it and tell a compelling story for the most part. But even like when you have these characters like, dog shot from his Suicide Squad, then having Haley, bite wing in this one. Now it's a three-legged dog, so I feel sorry for it. Where you have the Arry in the Suicide Squad as well, and his mother or their mother is a president of a foreign nation, and then you have Superman's son of Kal-El. You have Superman's boyfriend Jay Nakamura, whose mother is a president of a foreign nation, who both have powers. And
just go with the idea that you could even say that the Dark Knights of Steel, while some people say that it is the already.
Well, you have The Walking Dead. He's watching Game of Thrones as well. Deceased in the Game of Thrones.
Also sat there and said, "What? Oh, Injustice I did before? Hold it. All right, let's go." So yeah, he has a formula. Now with that, the idea when I look back,
though.
I gave
it's
one.
Like Miraclo.
I gave one issue a 5, but I gave a 10, and the rest 7 5s. And then the last one that we did pre-Future or pre-Fear State, and that's where I was going to get back to that. I gave an 8.5. So I ended up reviewing it. Okay,
Pretty solid.
I was frustrated. I was very. I wanted more. Now
Sexually.
with that, you say this about the idea of the Future State stuff. Fear State did the same thing to a lot of books as well. You end up having night.
Oh yeah, our Bat books were fucked.
Yeah, we just got done that first arc, and I was back on. I'm like, all right, let's go. Heartless. Remember,
if you didn't like Wicker Man Scarecrow, you were fucked.
Yeah, look at he's looking at jars with hearts. I'm going to get that Dick Grayson. You ended up having Black. He's going, and then you have to stop for 3 months, and it really threw it off. Then you come back and do a arts issue where it's a continuous deal, where everybody's like, oh my God, Bruno Redondo, that's awesome. Who could have been easily, Artist of the Year, who was also has been one of my Artists of the Year in the past because I love the Injustice
Always
stuff.
in the running.
But the idea where that continuous art issue, that's nice as a gimmick. It's nice. And I won't even say gimmick. And I said that in my review.
I'm going to say gimmick.
Well, that's a lot of hard work for a gimmick.
It's a lot of hard work. No story.
No, what it is like a silent issue isn't a gimmick either, but that's kind of the same. No, it's just you let the artist tell the
story. If you can call it something, it's a gimmick.
Yeah, okay, a good story. Gimmick.
Yeah, I want those gimmicks more often.
Just because you end up having the artist doing all the work, it's just that's kind of what it is. So, but that wasn't
Tom
story.
King, 85 issues. I got you.
Yeah, that wasn't story. Well, again, is it a gimmick that the had where what was it? The wedding issue where it was like 50 artists or whatever. No, it was shitty. That's what it was.
It's kind of a gimmick because if you put it out there as that, you're trying to say, oh my God, this is going to be a spectacle with all these artists coming in.
It was supposed to be a celebration. It just ended up. Well, again, when Bendis ended up pushing that in that Legion book where he did the same thing too. But again, what I'm saying is almost the idea of all those issues this year, but I can only really think of 6 because the rest were tied into Fear State and then you have that thing. But still, the big thing about it is, and I think that it has to be something that I go with, is that it is a book right now that looks like it's the one book that's grabbing new readers to come in, people coming back to it.
It gets me excited about the idea of Blockbuster being back in his normal form and like the way he should be.
And people just like to have a classic book that is, anybody can jump into that book. You end up where it's a classic character. You're using that Everything Matters more than a lot of books. I mean, just whether or not it makes sense, but just to mention at the first 2 issues, I think it was about him being a cop. So you're throwing things that may not make a lot of sense in what timeline makes, but it's Everything Matters.
Agreed.
And so you're having that.
The histories have been opened up again.
And again, you have a book where people who were like, oh, I'm not into, I don't.
What about that time in Chicago where he's sleeping on a couch?
Yeah, they don't have that. When that little girl found his costume and he ended up
Does
having
that
to
matter as well?
He zip-lined back with Zaz to the cop.
I just want to see the idea where Nightwing apprehends Zaz and then swings his way from Chicago to Gotham.
Just imagine that. The last thing of the New 52 Nightwing book was him zip-lining from Chicago to Gotham.
Getting taken by Owlman.
Zaz, and then, getting taken down. So you end up, though, with that, again, a book that is something that everybody can enjoy. I could give that book from the get-go. That first issue that I think it was 78, I could give to Ethan, and he could read it and understand enough to enjoy it. I don't know. He's not so smart, but I don't think I'd have to really explain much to him either.
And the book looks great.
And so it's not anything that it's a new we need to do that. And there's some of the books and.
It's new reader friendly. It's old reader friendly, and eventually you just come with Dick Grayson being friendly, and that's what you want.
And when we get to the end,
took care of those kids too, right?
Yeah, really should have taken. Again, that was things that I was getting upset with. But how many times now have I said with other books, why didn't they go the Nightwing route? Why didn't they? I keep mentioning it because it actually did work. It elevated sales more than any book in the past, I think, 10 years, really. Except when you have that big writer jump on.
Yeah.
But no book goes from, 28,000 cells to 55. And really, at that point, to go with your deal, without a gimmick except for Cool Dick Grayson. And it's one of the better selling books. And there's a reason,
cool
like I said,
Dick Grayson. He's in the Legion of Chill.
Yeah, my other deal was the Robin book. Yeah, Justice League Chill. And my other book was Robin, though. And again, there was that little bit where the story itself of a tournament and this big demon just fell apart. But the characters are great. Your best new characters from that.
Except for Double XL.
Damien. He's what he is. He's supposed to be hated. He's a heel. I love him. I think he's such a cool guy. But with that, and so again, we're playing it loose and doing this quick and all that, but I hope that everybody ends up, having their own decisions, maybe agree with us, not agree with us. But we do have the next bit, which is more of a 2022 thing. And I know that we're very hopeful. One of the reasons why, and
especially Positive Jimmy.
First off, I want to know, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Is it rum raisin? I end up sending categories. Eric goes, what next do you want to know my favorite ice cream flavor? And then tells me it's vanilla. I'm like, I don't want to know that. That's boring.
Every time you bring this up, you tell me we're doing something different after I've already completed what we're doing.
Everything is just kind of adding. I didn't say we're not going to do book or whatever. I figured let's add something.
Okay, on the podcast, this one podcast, we're going to do greatest moment. And then a week later, you know what? We're going to have a show and we're going to do it this way. And then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. Get ready. And I'm like,
no, I just said, I said we're going to do it once a week, one award. It didn't work out. Me and Luke tried to do that. The one bit, it fell apart. It didn't really seem like it mattered or anything like that. So I ended up listening to our 2019 show, and I was laughing it up, having some fun. And I thought maybe we'll just do that real quick because we don't have a ton of books this week. And I wanted to have something for the Thank God It's Friday. So we have this, and then I ended up saying, we always did end up saying at the end of these, in each one, what we were looking forward to most. So I said, why don't we do that? And I'll go first.
Winning the Powerball.
Mine's very easy for this. And I like, too, with the DC, where you said that, why should we have DC and give them our resolutions? But the thing is, me and you never have made resolutions in our life, so we have to do it for somebody else. But
I might quit smoking this year.
Mine's very, I might go to the gym. And what I do is that's what I do. I look in the mirror. I go, hey, I'm like the Fonz when the Fonz goes to comb his hair. That's me. Oh my God, I'm so cool. All right, but not at the gym. I was going to continue. You end up where what I'm looking forward to most. It's actually very easy. It's not really monumental. It's nothing. You know what I want to know? I want to know who's on Justice League next. That's all I want to know. That's what I'm looking forward to. I can't wait for the solicits. It'll be quick. It'll be this month. Probably leaked a week
I guess
before.
I didn't understand what we exactly were doing with this, where I thought, what direction we want DC to go in 2022.
No, that's the New Year's resolution. So you can go with that. The New Year's resolution is what they would resolve to do going forward. This is just looking forward. What just what I'm looking forward to. That's why I said to you.
The thing is, I do have this category written down, but I was looking at the wrong thing because we were talking about the resolution. Yeah,
remember afterwards I said that I didn't remember the one event that I thought would be what you were looking forward to.
And that's exactly what it is.
I figured it was. I almost put Shadow War because and I believe that's the Batman, Deathstroke, Inc. Robin crossover deal. But actually, I'm just like, with those, we'll see. We'll see how that's going. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing who's on Justice League. You know why? There's one reason why, Eric. One reason. It's because I think that really is a tell. Whoever's on that book is a tell of what I think DC is gonna. Are they taking this seriously?
Or are we gonna have left that you want to see on there? Williamson or Taylor? That's the problem.
Does it mean that it has to be somebody left? Maybe it's somebody different. Maybe they're going to shock us. This is what I'm telling you. This is almost like the idea. But this is like, here's the Eagles going into free agency or the draft, where you have the draft coming up and you're like, it could be this guy, this guy, this guy. And you want to see if they're serious about their team and how they draft, or are they just going to dick around with it again and have something stupid? Like
next year.
I'm really, really saying right now, this is kind of a half-ass, pull it out my ass prediction. But I'm really worried that what they're going to do is what they're doing right now on Spider-Man over at Marvel. I have a feeling they're going to have a
selling like hotcakes.
No, a group of writers that it's going to be the Justice League board, and they're going to end up having 4 writers, and they'll switch through them so that they can use somebody like a Tom Taylor and
that sounds actually kind of
Joshua
cool
Williamson. But a lot of times those things don't jive. If they work together, that would. But I get worried, and right now at the Spider-Man stuff, it's not doing great in my mind. But maybe that's the deal, because everybody keeps saying, everybody thinks 3 names: Tom Taylor, Joshua Williamson, or Chip Zdarsky are the ones that I see big going around. All of them are doing a ton of books, and that's the thing. Joshua Williamson can't do it; he's doing too much. Oh, Tom Taylor has 18
ton
books.
Of books. Yeah,
maybe they will. Maybe I'm walking backwards into this prediction, but I have a feeling it might be something like that, and I might get worried. But I'm excited about it. I want to see, because if they end up saying it's Eric Shea, I'm out. I'm done there.
Oh no!
And I'd be like, "You kept that secret from me." You're like, "I didn't even know." That'd be fun. You're one of those guys like you got traded and found out by watching freaking Sports Center.
I have too much work on now. Like, if I get the Justice League out of nowhere, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to write about.
Oh no! But yeah,
I got a bunch of Kid Flash stories and Aqualad stories. What the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah, that's true. Well, now you get to pick your team now. And,
you know what? Yeah, it's the most amazing thing ever.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah, and again, let's put that into it as well, because if you get that new writer announced, or writers, I'd be excited to see if they're going to keep going with the same team, if they're going to. There's a lot of excitement.
It's kind of exciting, but it's also kind of not exciting. Just because I think back, where back in the 90s, I think it was 99 or 97, whatever it was, when Grant Morrison came on JLA and they're starting the whole series up new again.
Is the idea that Grant Morrison bashing?
No, it's not about that. It's just the idea that the hype behind that whole idea where he was bringing the original team back, it was just a gigantic thing that everybody who was reading comics, there was a buzz around the comic book shop at that time, and it was a cool moment. But then even like the idea where you have, like, my favorite team is from 2003 when we had Brad Meltzer come on, and we had, like the Trinity and Black Canary leading the team, though. But you had Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Black Lightning, Red Arrow, and Vixen, Red Tornado. Like, that was just such a diverse and different team that I wanted to see, because that's what I always look forward to. But then when you have Scott Snyder come on, and the idea is like, hey, you guys, remember that Justice League from the cartoon? I always like that. That's what we're going to do here. No matter if it makes sense, I'm going to force it in, and that's what we're going to do. And even when you have Bendis on, the idea
Bendis is what I was going to bring up too.
And Hippolyta, but hasn't done dick with it.
That's the thing. I mean, again, where you keep telling me and the idea there's no bad characters, only bad writers. Well, there's no good teams, just bad writers to mess them up.
Even when you had Dick Grayson as Batman towards the end of the Flashpoint era, the post-crisis, when he was Batman, you had Jesse Quick on there, and you had Jade. I think Supergirl was on there, maybe Wonder Girl as well. Like, it was this whole gigantic team of women with Batman leading at Dick Grayson Batman, and then Con Gorilla and I forget who else was the other, maybe a Starman, but I can't recall. But this was such a crazy team, but the problem was the team really did suck at the end. Like, the idea that's not a great thing for the Justice League, and nobody ever even remembers it.
But then you get sometimes with the JLI team with Guy Gardner and all that, where all of a sudden you don't even realize that. And that's the thing. That's part of it. I should put that as part of it. The idea, though, I'm saying is this is the flagship title, or at least one of them should be, the Justice League. And I need to see the DC, and I'm excited to see and hopeful that they're going to show that they mean something with it and actually do something.
Has his powers, put his ass on a fucking Justice League.
Well, you start talking about stuff, and I start thinking the idea when you said Scott Snyder and stuff, well, we end up having the big brouhaha about the Flashpoint movies changing and then those changes going on. Yeah. And I'm worried that DC is going to say, hey, Warner Brothers wants us to make it that, supposed team.
Again, that supposed team. It doesn't make a lot of sense for how it would be on the thing, because hey, everybody,
well, that's what I'm saying.
Supergirl, Batgirl, Aquaman, and Shazam, and Black Canary. I'm like, it's crazy. But I'm going to be here to read it.
You're there. Now, that's the thing. If you go with the idea, you said Scott Snyder ended up using the cartoon deal, and he did what he did. Bendis has one of the most diverse and crazy teams that we've had in years upon years, but he does nothing with any of the characters, and does nothing in the book overall anyway.
To write a check and say checkmate bullshit.
Just because Naomi is his character, we get annoyed that he shoves her there, but Naomi, Black Lightning, Green Arrow, Black Canary, this is a crazy team.
Black Lightning's not on that group.
I meant,
Black Adam.
Black Adam. You end up with the whole deal when you're going through that.
Lightning, so it works in my mind.
If he ended up having great stories, I mean, it's him that's messing it up, not the team.
Coming out of Endless Wonder last year with Hippolyta as the Wonder Woman ambassador and stuff like that. Black Lightning and her, Black Adam and her having this centuries old relationship of fighting freaking ice monsters and shit like that. But even just having everybody you knew from Scott Snyder's, run for the most part, except for Martian Manhunter, like, it's a lot of, like, it's just a stacked fucking team that you're doing nothing with. On top of Naomi.
That's the thing. He does nothing with it, but it could have been one of those things that shocked you of how great it could have been. But he never, like, the thing about Brian Michael Bendis' Justice League and why I'm glad he's off it, first off, it's infuriating. But the writing itself is more concerned about people just sitting around repeating each other. You never even have that moment where Hippolyta goes up because there's no time with all of his crammed ass dialogue where you get Hippolyta like, hey, you know what, Black Adam, I'm still pretty mad at you about that. And oh yeah, I'll work it out. Or even like a little aside.
That never happened to his mind.
He's like, what are you talking
that
about?
Fortress is still in Bermuda Triangle.
We don't have winners in conduct. What are you talking about? You end up like even his like supposed little personal moments are Black Adam and Superman in mid-flight going, I like when you're angry. Like, you don't even have anything. There's never anything going on while everything is going on, but nothing's going on. It's so infuriating. So, again, it's one of those things. Is it going to be a guy or a girl who is good at team books? I'm just excited to see who's doing it, the team. I kind of think that the best thing might be to start out small and go.
To do something along those lines, just because of how well she dealt with all the different rosters, like not the rosters, but the different characters that she did during her Transformers running comics. I think she could play well with different characters like that on a team scenario.
Again, I think you need some big name. I really think that with all of it going on, I think that what you're going to get
not even with DC right now.
I think it's going to be Tom Taylor, and I think that Tom Taylor's going to get it because of the classicness of the Nightwing. I think that's where we're going to go.
Williamson's going to go from Batman and Justice League Incarnate to that.
That's the thing. I want Joshua Williamson to maybe get it because then he could use that book to go into the big things. Now, that's what Scott Snyder did. It got a little wonky, but that is a book that should be leading the charge into what is the big event. So I want that. I just think it's going to be Tom Taylor because of that classic nature and to get people on board, which I'll be fine with. I mean, when we talk about the books, just as an aside, it only does us good as a podcast, as a website, if things are going well. I mean, we could sit here and bitch and moan about shitty books all we want, and we will because we try to be honest, right? The idea, though, is when things are going great, like a Rebirth, when that started, it was great. I mean, it was like we were on top of the world there, and everybody was loving it. We were just, I couldn't wait to get to the podcast to say how much we were digging a lot of we were in the books. I mean, what could have been better? Then we hit Heroes in Crisis, which to me is the stop sign. And then things started falling apart, and then it kind of gets to be a slug. Then hey, let's not talk about that book. At one point, we're talking about every book and pretty much liking all of them. May not love them all, but we were really digging all those books, and I want to get back to that. But the Justice League needs to be a book that everybody looks forward to each month. You have to have that book. Things develop out of that.
I would like that.
People jump on and read a good Justice League book, and then they want to read Superman. Then they're going to go, Batman will sell itself, whatnot. But, oh, my God, this Aquaman is better than I thought that it would. Hey, and hopefully then you get an Aquaman. I mean, all those things, too. But that's the springboard, and we need it right now. We really do. And I think that, again, even though I'm frustrated with Nightwing and stuff like that at times, being a fan of Nightwing and wanting more, it really is getting people on board. So I would like that with Justice League. But what are you looking forward to?
The thing I'm looking forward to right now in DC Comics going into 2022 is one of the first big crossover events that we're dealing with, and that is the War for Earth 3. You have the Shadow War going on, you have the Trial of the Amazons, but in my heart and in my mind and my soul, it's all about the War for Earth 3 because I love bad superheroes. So the crime syndicate of Earth 3 is something that I love. The Crime Syndicate book itself kind of fell flat towards the end when I realized that the writer had no idea what they were actually talking about or how to write it Earth 3. But with things on there like Johnny Quick still being alive, maybe things are not exactly the way they were described as in that book. So when we have the Suicide Squad, crossing over with Teen Titans Academy, crossing over with the Flash right there, all of those elements alone, I'm like, yes, I am all about that, especially when they had the little promo covers and it's Nightwing versus Owlman versus a Talon. I'm like, and even like Superboy versus Ultraman versus Match. I'm like, yes, give me more of this because I need to chew on the scenery here just like everybody else did. And I'm like, this is all I really want right now. And really, with the idea of doing this, we have a way to write what happened in the Crime Syndicate book to see that a proper Earth 3 has assembled and nothing's really fucked up anymore with the Emerald Knight and how we, they decided to go around with that whole thing. But I want to see that just because I love me some evil doppelganger superheroes.
Yeah, and it's cool, too, because you even said, and you don't even think about the idea of there's Dick Grayson is going to come face-to-face with William Cobb again. That's crazy stuff. And again, might be a little overused at bits in that past Nightwing run,
even
but
the
still.
idea, though, if you think about it, where it's, Owlman over there, and if it still goes with the same kind of continuity where Dick Grayson was his sidekick called Talon, so you have Talon and Dick Grayson together with Owlman.
Versus Dick Grayson and a Talon. Because I think that at the end you might end up having some weird team-ups even with the idea of,
how the Flash is going to be a part of this.
I'm telling you, well, he has to go because somebody's kidnapped and
It's going to be like Bolt and Flash and freaking, Johnny Quick.
All I want to know is please don't reference the idea of being sick from vibrations. I don't need that. You said, let's get that out. But it's funny, too, because you get that idea, like if me and you, we don't really like each other, but we go over...
Justice League Incarnate, where everybody goes to different Earths, are they getting all like
No,
like
it
sick?
doesn't seem it's even mentioned. So no. So and that I consider the bigger book. So there you go.
Damn right.
But you end up where I'd like to think that, say, a William Cobb and a Dick Grayson are like me and you. We go to Germany. We go see Niels. He starts, causing his usual... nonsense, right?
Sexual harassment?
And me and you, no, he might cuddle with us, but that's welcome. We end up where I end up, like me and you team up because, we're from Philadelphia. We have that. That's the only thing I think that you have William Cobb and we're from Earth. Let's go. We're, Earth 3 nonsense. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to, like you said, the Trial of the Amazons, even though
Earth
that's
3,
the one.
Philly, it's a nice place to live.
Yeah, probably. It would have to be. The funniest thing is, again, you don't like Elseworld stories, but you do like the multiversal deal of it because it's in the but also the idea that nowadays the biggest and worst thing it seems to say as a comic fan is that you like evil versions of characters.
I love evil versions of characters.
And I think that's a different thing, though, because when you end up having an Earth 3, that's an evil version of a character that, say, a Superman can go and fight Ultraman.
Exactly.
It's not just
I want them
evil.
to go up against their evil doppelganger counterparts.
Yeah, and so when you get that, you're not taking away from the good character. Nope. You're actually adding that bad.
It goes back to Star Trek with the mirror universe and stuff like that, where you have fucking Spock with a goatee being all evil and shit with fucking Kirk raging out. I'm like, I need that kind of stuff everywhere I go. You remember even in Quantum Leap, you had the evil Leaper?
And remember in that mirror universe, it's 9 of 7.
It's
Eric.
not, Jim.
9 of 7.
Watch Star Trek.
Yes. But no, I think that when people grab onto these slogans and things like that, they love to go, these evil superheroes, that's what ruined things, but they don't quite get the concept of the better version of it.
Using that, though, where you have a counter, I'm trying to think of an opposite Earth to what we know as, so whatever is good is bad and vice versa, so you could put the whole idea where you have the crime syndicate where the Justice League would have become evil and taken over the entire world because they are an evil organization and stuff like that, and what you do with those characters and the versions of the characters, you don't always need to do it, but I like to have the idea that Earth is going on the same path that ours is. So whatever our Justice League is, the Crime Syndicate will have those counterparts as a part of their team as well. And I always want to see what they become. That whole idea, instead of Green Lantern, it's Power Ring. Instead of Superman, it's Ultraman. I just really love all those concepts they gave us.
Yeah, and, Superwoman, things like that.
Exactly.
Even that concept of being Lois Lane, but not Lois Lane. No. And you said the idea, too, though, is the cool things of the deal is the idea that Batman had a Talon, and in our world, Dick Grayson almost became a Talon. It's cool stuff. I mean, it is. Now, I'm going to write a story, Eric. That's it. I'm writing a story where they go to, I'll just make up a number, Earth 69, dude. And they end up, it's a bit of a sexier, but you know what that is? It's the versions of the characters, of our characters, that are good, Eric. We find out that our characters aren't the good ones. Wouldn't that be cool?
People found that out with friggin', Identity Crisis.
Damn it. But yeah, that would actually, the funny thing is, I could use that to explain a lot of things. Heroes in Crisis, you can wipe it all out by that. But that would be, actually what you would get is, and the be-all, end-all of that story was just that our Earth characters are just kind of down the middle. You're what you are. You're kind of boring.
In Jim's universe, Azrael is actually pretty cool. I'm like, maybe we should go over there then.
In my universe, narration boxes are banned. You can't have those, Eric. And any comic has to have a set amount of words.
At times.
There's a word limit. Well, you end up where we talk about Sean Murphy and the White Knight thing. doesn't allow them in those. He does not allow narration boxes there. People have to say or whatnot
You
do
don't exactly
what
like
they
that
are
either,
doing.
though, half the time.
No, some of it I don't love, but I like the idea, like he said, there's no omnipotent guy hanging around every day just yelling out shit to you, so he likes that. But that's just some writers don't like narration
I like
boxes
it
at all.
as, like thought balloons to a degree.
Yeah, well, I like it as,
An
you
inner
see.
monologue.
I'd rather be, a lot of times, like a James Tynion gets a little excited with them, and I end up, it doesn't really hit as much as action and
All he's
dialogue.
doing is freaking telling you everything that's gone on in the past that he's not stopped telling you the entire time and freaking a page worth of narration.
And then there's other writers will use them because they just, oh crap, I forgot to, do half of my development. I better throw it at them there, and it's too late. Tom King. But when we do this, we have the New Year's resolutions. Like I said, we don't give each other New Year's resolutions. Like you said, though, your favorite ice cream's vanilla, Eric. I just want to let everybody
Plain
know.
Jane over here.
Mine, again, and people would know, is mint chocolate chip, and then that green stuff. That's nonsense. I was yelling at Matt Razor today about it, because usually the green, you get those little teeny specks. I mean, it's almost like you're trying to get gold.
You
and you get a little
you don't
fleck.
eat.
Well, that's because it sucks when I end up seeing something like this. You just went through what Heroes in Crisis is. We hated that. You pay attention to things, but
I didn't stop reading.
I like the white. I like the white. If somebody offers the green, I would be nice and yeah, just white, because
I feel like you throw it in their face and talk a lot of shit.
The green is all dye. You don't need that, and I need the real
cereal, because
chocolate
that
chip.
all is different colors.
Well, it is, but the idea, I don't know that there's an other variety that I've had. Like, oh, this is the Lucky Charms without the dye. This is awesome. But the resolutions, Eric, New Year's resolutions for DC Comics, and this is mine. Mine's more of a statement kind of deal, but really what I want. It's going to sound a lot like Rebirth, I realize, but I want them to get a clear and concise plan of how this entire line is going to move forward. The idea of continuity, a lot of things going. Well, it doesn't need a reboot. They just all have to get on the same page and allow new readers to jump on and convince old readers to come back. It's very much the Nightwing book. You even said that, but really to reward, us weirdos, Eric, and the Get Fresh crew, because we're sitting here loyal and patient. I just need them to feel like when I go and look at the DC books coming out each and every week, that there is somebody there with a plan overall that everything is leading to. And right now, I don't see it. It's a little scattered. It's a little roughshod. So I hope that comes down with an event or something later on. But I hope that these books get more connected and allow people to understand how these things work so you can get new readers, because I don't think it's really new reader friendly right now. What would be yours? What do you want DC to do?
It's a weird situation, like moving into the idea of what would have been 5G and DC Comics as we know it today, with the idea that, John Kent becoming Superman, Jace Fox becoming Batman, and even like Jackson Hyde doing the whole Aquaman becoming thing, where we have all these characters almost taking on the mantle or just being featured as the next generation. It's a weird situation where you have all of these things, but it still does feel, with these changes that are being made and different stories being told, that we are missing the generation that really matters, and that is the Young Justice generation, who have been put on the sidelines ever since Bendis decided to bring them back and dick them up, and they were put away because they were awful. But the idea that you are focusing on the next generation, but not the generation that everybody does want to see, that are around and should be doing things. And that being said, there's another generation on top of that, the Justice Society, the older generation. So if you have these amazing characters and even their kids to freaking do as the modern society, like the modern generation, whatever you want to call it, but the idea of them moving forward and having the young generation, or even if you want them to work together because you don't have enough room for 2 books, we need something going on with them, because there's a large portion of DC Comics that aren't being told simply because it seems like they aren't bad books. And going forward, I need them to bring back Young Justice and Justice Society.
It's funny when you say that and stuff like that. It is funny, like almost the idea. Like I said, they're mucking it up a bit here, and I think a lot of it is this 5G carryover, which was odd because this new regime comes in. The old regime gets fired that was going to do the 5G, and they come in and kind of do a half-ass watered-down version of it.
Don't call it 5G now.
And then the weird thing about it is, while we were talking about the Justice League, when I said that can't wait for the Justice League team and the announcement of the deal, I was actually, while we were going, you were mentioning some characters and things like that, and I was talking about, they're going to do that movie reboot type of deal, and then the team that I started thinking of I stopped and didn't even say anything, because I'm like, that's a Teen Titans kind of team. That's a Titans team. But that's kind of what we do need.
Well, even with Teen Titans, where you have 3 generations of Teen Titans going on right now, And the ones we're focusing on are new characters, a new
Who
generation.
are we focused? They're not even focused on that. That book's a wreck. But
It's
you're
such a
right.
wreck.
You end up where they think that what we want now, and I'm
Gorilla
saying
Greg's getting more page space than Tim Drake.
Yeah,
Connor Kent.
Yeah. You have this idea here where they think, and I say they because they have a book out right now, they think that current readers, which could be new, old, whatever, that what they want in a Teen Titans book is just their Titans and Teen Titans Young Justice characters hanging around while you end up dicking around with these new characters that you can barely set up.
You got Dane
ridiculous.
Page after page, and we don't have Wonder Girl or Impulse fucking around.
Right now, and I told you this, and we talked about it on the regular podcast, right now, we don't even have every member of the current Justice League, and I'm not going to say Black Adam or Apollo, I'm talking classic. Aquaman doesn't even have a book. Green Arrow could have a book again. People are dying to get a Green Arrow, Black Canary, but they want her, that both of them to have it.
It's
yeah,
cool.
but they want that book. There's so many books that seem to be left on the table. Like they're almost, it feels at times, and I said again, a book that didn't even come up at all because it's a shame. Another book that needs a classic redo, get back to is Green Lantern. People are begging for a Green Lantern book that actually they can jump on.
Well, the thing is, you have a Jeffrey Thorne doing stuff in space. You can tell his story that they were bringing back John Stewart Mosaic. Just do us Hal Jordan on Earth. I need an Earth-based Green Lantern series.
Well, that's the thing is, it's weird because I keep saying when we talk about Jeffrey Thorne's Green Lantern on the podcast, I tell you each time, like, it feels as if he is being stubborn. And he doesn't want to give in to what people had told him from the beginning, what they wanted, because that would mean he loses. We're all losing. And DC themselves seem to be doing the same thing. Oh, we can't have an Aquaman book because then that would take away from the Jackson Hyde. You can have both. And the Jackson Hyde book is not doing well. So I even said, set it up in a backup to a Aquaman book. Get that. Green Arrow, all these characters. You could have more than one Flash book. You can do a lot of stuff with these characters right now.
I want to get back to having a Flash, the fastest man alive book.
Yeah, you could have a ton because we have all these. A lot of it. How can you have speedsters that are standing around? I mean, there's so many out there doing nothing, just standing there. And it's a shame. Green Lantern, you should have at least 3 books.
For the most part, we know that the speedsters, for the most part, are taken care of. Wally West is the current Scarlet Speeder. Barry's lost in a multiverse beyond our own. Avery's a part of Justice League Incarnate, and Wallace is over at Teen Titans doing stuff.
But you also have Wallace, you have Bart, you have
Wallace,
all these.
though. I'm saying Wallace is over at the Teen Titans.
Yeah,
though,
he's
so
just standing there.
Bart,
like
he
they're
might
not
be doing
anything.
Justice stuff. We ain't doing nothing with him.
But that's what I'm saying.
And
do
Jay,
a
who knows
book.
what's going on in Justice Society.
Yeah, Jay, and have that. I mean, those are the books they should have more.
And that brings me back to my main thing. Bring me Young Justice and Justice Society books.
Yeah, I would like some more Green Lantern
I'm
books.
actually surprised about the idea that how many of the speedsters we have, like we know exactly where they are.
Them, but the thing
part.
is, Barry's just there as a prop. He's not doing anything. Also, really, you want to have questions from 2021? What happened to that totality? That team split.
Chilling.
I don't think that they've announced they broke up. It's like finding out in 1982 the Beatles broke up in 70. You have no idea.
I don't remember who the Hero Totality members were. Was it Alan Scott?
Barry, he's lost. You ended up having, again, not a hero, but Talia, she doesn't seem to be involved anymore.
Saying there's 3 villains
I thought
and 3
there was
heroes.
Alan Scott. There's Lex Luthor now.
Vandal Savage, Italian, Lex.
Yeah, Lex is now running Batman Incorporated, doing business deals. He ain't in that nobody. Vandal Savage, what is he?
Was it Hawkgirl the other one?
I don't think it was because of the. We'd have to go back again. We haven't done anything. I think that's non-existent now. I don't think that's a thing anymore.
I think Michael Holt was too, but I'm not sure. Maybe Martian Manhunter. But
I think that got washed away. I think that they're not really dealing with that. That there's a couple things. Again, I just want to mention with some things and some bummers with this year. But when I ended up rereading that last Death Metal issue, it wasn't exactly the greatest thing ever. But getting excited and seeing the sacrifice that Diana did and what it meant, and then going and looking through that first Justice League Incarnate and even the idea of her, knowing what happened in the future. And then you get to that Wonder Woman book, and it's like, let's just ditch that and just do stuff. I just don't understand. This is the connectivity that I want to make things feel bigger and to go forward, because nobody knows we end up saying all the time, and people are like, what do they mean that, Hera should be dead? People don't even remember this stuff, especially the writers. They don't remember, right? So all that, it's just frustrating. But with that said, back to the positivity of 2022, we have 3 books that legitimately people are already putting on Best of Year 2021. when there's only a couple issues. That shows that there's, that wiggle room to kind of get some good things in because maybe things aren't hitting as well, but those are good. And yeah, if you're not reading DC versus Vampires, that's one of me and Eric's favorite books right now. You don't have to know
sink your teeth into.
Yeah, really. I mean, everything's at stake there. You end up where you don't really need to know anything about anything. It's an Elseworld deal. It's vampires. I mean, you have a lot of fun with that, but we also enjoy.
You know enough going in for the characters, except for enough in case, and everything you don't know will be explained to you.
Same with Dark Knights of Steel.
Yeah.
You could just go into that because it's an Elseworld. They're playing off the tropes of the characters, adding new ones in as well. Now, Task Force Z, there's a bit of a, entrance
a lot of
fee to
continuity
that.
going on there.
Yeah, that might not be as easy, but if you're caught up and you do know the things, I would suggest reading that. I think Flash is a solid book to read. Obviously, Nightwing, Robin, Suicide Squad. I think, though, these are books that people would get and actually enjoy. They wouldn't be mad that they got them. There are some stinkers. We're not going to say everything's, peaches and cream here because they're not, but there are a bunch of books that are pretty darn cool and pretty big and pretty fun. So, yeah, check those out, even if it is on I hate to say the DC Infinite app, because I see every time that's mentioned by DC, they get ripped a new one by people online. Because
they're not in other countries?
Yeah, not many other people can deal with it. People get so mad because it was promised to be this past summer and never happened. Yeah, so what I say is, get a VPN. There's a little hint. No, Eric, you can get it easily.
So like NFTs?
No, our man Simon has that. You just make the computer. You make the computer think you're in the U.S. and you get it. And that's the thing. You're not. That isn't quite. Is it illegal?
I don't know.
It might be a gray area.
Well, like a lawyer to you?
You still have to buy you don't get a free subscription then, just because we in the United States still have to get it. So when you do that, you still have to sign up, get a subscription, and stuff like that. But in the meantime, you could access it and get those comics on there.
DC pirate them.
DC, well, that's the problem is DC better wise up because people who are pissed,
offer them, fucking steal them.
People who are pissed that they want to pay money to get them and DC keeps it from them, they're going to go that route a lot of times.
I understand completely. I have a freaking account and stuff like that, and I have it, but, if they don't have a book that's on there and I need to research something, I am not above freaking taking it like a look down memory lane until legally
you're
or
illegally.
You're
going to get canceled. You're going to get canceled. Yeah.
Well, they have a lot of books that, I love the DC Infinite app. I will pay them money for the rest of my life if I'm able to, but they still are missing large gaps in their library.
They seem to not want to remember the Silver Age. I'll give you that.
I know.
Detective Comics and Action Comics have huge gaps, and I love that stuff. It's fun. And a lot of the weird part about it is what drives me nuts is if I'm there and me and you are at the head of something. I don't know. I'm the head of DC Infinite. Me and you together.
I wash cars.
Me and you end up listening.
I'm the head of it.
Yeah. Me and you end up reading the issues each week. And damn it, if there is a thing that's callback from, say, 1962 Detective Comics, you best get that on the app. Have that there. And when we get more digitally, enhanced at things is why I like to go digital. Be so cool digitally to be able to click on something, an editor's note, boom, and it pulls up your Infinite app and gives you that. That'd be so. I mean, we would use that during the podcast. Oh my God, it's this. And,
I don't know. It might slow my computer down. I don't know.
Well, we'd have to work out the way to do it a little better. Or we're not like.
That sounds amazing. That sounds like Minority Report shit.
Wouldn't
right
that
there.
Be awesome? It'd be great. All of a sudden, I'm there. I'm swiping things in the air. I knock over my chair. I hit myself. I ended up in the past 6 months. I ended up yesterday falling on my ass because my chair was broken. Tried to use it, but I don't even know if I ever told everybody that the one point we were done recording, I was so excited we were done. When I'm done, I swing my mic. I have it on a boom. And it's like a thing.
This would be a disc jockey.
It's just a maneuver, and it kind of does make me laugh like that. But what I did was I didn't move my head. I chipped my tooth. I ended up, my bottom tooth is completely chipped from my mic. And boom, it hit me. And I was like, holy crap.
I don't even know how it hits you.
Yeah, well, I swung it. I grabbed it because it was there. And as I went to swing it.
Swung back?
Yeah, no, and it hit me right in the face.
And
it hit me right in the mouth because how I have it set up. And
I swung, swung, I went down.
Yeah. Like yesterday when I fell off my chair, that was hurting because I ended up not bracing myself. Hit myself in the ass, then my head almost went into the heater. Troubles there. It was
I had you.
That I'm looking now, that chair, I got so mad at that, I threw it.
Yeah, that'll show it.
Back, and it's laying on a bunch of bins now.
You're boss, huh?
Yeah.
Big man.
I told that. You hear that chair? Look, actually, I look at it. It's creeping towards. It actually is. It's not. It must have fallen off the bins. I think it's coming to get me. I'm looking at it. Wait, here, it'll talk to you. Oh, geez.
Do you need me to go over there and ghost hunt?
Maybe I have to do that. I sent you a picture of my computer today.
Sure.
And I hope that you also took notice of those mattresses.
This is none of my business.
This is a wreck down here. It's the funniest thing. I should take
monitors you have.
I should record a tour of this because the funny thing is, you end up having just shit everywhere. It looks like
you're waiting to bring your next victim down there, and you haven't set up yet.
The funny thing is, out of all the things down here, everything is just a pile of shit all over the place. And then out of nowhere, there's a Max Care exercise bike just sitting there, prim and proper. Yeah, I have to take it upstairs. There's no way I'm using it down here. I was going to do it at one point because there's all the mold and shit. I'm not breathing that stuff in.
That's
here.
all
I'm down
you're
here
doing.
enough. Yeah, I don't need to be huffing and puffing. And I don't like I don't like wearing a mask while I'm exercising, Eric. So that's why.
So you're just going to tell me whatever you need to not to exercise.
That's why I don't go to the gym, right? Yes. I like to be well fed. And that's just my excuse.
Me as well. And I hate moving.
I had cream dried beef for dinner. I made everybody cream dried beef for dinner. It was very good. And then Logan asked me, what is the history of cream dried beef? And I said, well, let me tell you. And I went through all of it, Eric. I was reading some of it to him, but I did know kind of what it was. A little military background, that. But, yeah, and they used to eat it almost like camp food. Can you imagine that? Imagine that. Can you believe it? Oh,
this is old man story time. What are we doing right now?
Yeah, it is. It's the time. But we have the big producer of cream dried beef or dried beef in this town. Eric, we're famous. Yes.
Sure.
But yeah, just to recap, Master-wise, new character of the year, just beating out Dr. Dinosaur. But yeah, we'll be back to all our regular things. This week, we don't have a ton of books for the regular show. I think we have 5. So that's a pretty cool deal, right? Pretty cool way to put your pants on.
We got more.
Yeah, we might have 6. But I know that we don't have 10. No, I don't think we have that many. There's no way. Unless you're counting that crazy Krypton thing.
No.
Yeah, you'll have to check because I think we have 5 or 6 depending. But with all of that, if you are new to the show, welcome to this nonsense. But we have our regular podcast comes out every Sunday night. We have not taken off a week ever since we started, except maybe that first week we kind of goes a little down. Well, since then, I think is when it really started. That's when we really started. But it's like something like 368 weeks in a row, something like that at this point. But we don't take off. So every Sunday night, you'll see the podcast pop up. And we also we're on Twitter at Weird Science DC. We also have a website, WeirdScienceDCComics.com. And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Weird Science, where you can get a bunch of shows. And one of the big shows is our Spotlight each and every week. 2 books picked by the badasses of the Get Fresh crew. And this past week, we had the good and the bad. It is kind of the facts of life. We ended up having the Dark Knights of Steel. And that was number 3, right? And we also had the Crush and Lobo finale number 8. So you can go and listen to that right now. But that's it, Eric. And yeah, again, you can come back on Sunday and we'll be here. Come back, y'all. You see? I don't know what you say at the end. But, Eric, what do we say at the end of this show?
Have a great year.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science
It's the revolution.
Weird science
It's the revolution.
Weird science
It's the revolution.